For my birthday, my best friend gave me an orange tabby in the middle of the night. It looked at me, shook its head. Inside pretty enough to look at. So why is the head not working? Getting stabbed in the back by your best friend and your boyfriend. And you didn't even notice. I thought I'd misheard. I pulled the resignation form out of the drawer, ready to quit with no notice and go traveling with my best friend. You're busy resigning while Daphne Summers is busy taking your place and getting promoted to general manager. I have to hand it to your boyfriend. That plan of his is genuinely vicious. Shame. Really? Word from the other cats is that the company you work at is about to close a 10-figure round of funding. There's a fortune waiting down that road. The voice came into my head again. My pen stopped. I tore the resignation form to pieces. I just dropped the scraps into the trash when a message came in from Daphne. Mila Henson just put down next Monday as your resignation date. Even sent a photo of her own resignation form right after my boyfriend Ronnie Gilbert messaged too. Did you fill out the form yet? I stared at the screen, still not fully able to accept this thing called betrayal. After all, the three of us had grown up together. Daphne had trailed after me since we were kids, and I'd looked after her like a little sister. When she couldn't get a job anywhere, I brought her into the company, taught her everything hands-on, handed her my client accounts. She was always thanking me in front of other people. Ronnie had been saying he'd marry me since we were children, confessed to me at 18, and we've been together ever since, almost 7 years all told. That birthday bag Ronnie gave you, it's a cast-off Daphne didn't want. There's a mark on the inside. He's been in love with Daphne since they were kids. Kat's voice came through. I hurried to the closet, dug out the bag, and checked it carefully. Sure enough, scratched into the bottom where the letter Shaboy, Daphne's initials in that instant. The last thread of hope in my chest snapped. So the love and friendship I'd cradled in my hands, all of it was nothing but empty bubbles. But that bag is hiding a $3 million prize. The cat's voice rose again. My head whipped around. It had jumped up onto the windowsill, licking a paw, muttering onto itself. The big white cat at the shop said, the brand ran a serial number giveaway. The winning number is the one on that bag. Ronnie didn't leave a phone number at the shop, and there are only 3 days left before the deadline. I pulled myself together and scrolled fast through my chat history with Ronnie until I found the address of the brand store. I'd claimed the prize. Tomorrow after work, Ronnie had said he wanted me to put $1 million down on a place and he'd cover the rest of the mortgage. Now I didn't need him for it. I could pay the whole thing myself. Then, all at once, Ronnie called Ma. Are you asleep? Why aren't you answering my and Daphne's messages? Did you finish the resignation form? Daphne says, Hawaii is amazing. I've already booked our tickets for next week, so don't you dare back out. Listening to Daphne again. He'd explained it to me himself once. We're a couple Daphnes all on her own, so we should take extra care of her. Give her some slack. I trusted them both, so I'd never thought twice about any of it. All done. I was just in the shower. I answered offhandedly. Good. We can finally make our childhood dream come true and see the world together. Ronnie laughed. Get some sleep. Love you. Forever. Love you for 10,000 years. His voice was as gentle as ever, like he was soothing a baby. Once upon a time, hearing those late-night, sweet nothings would have warmed me through and through. Now it just made me sick to my stomach. Starting today, I wouldn't waste one more scrap of time or energy on rotten love and rotten friendship. The next day, I set out half an hour earlier than usual, and I'd barely park the car when I spotted two familiar figures. Ronnie bent to press a soft kiss to Daphne's forehead, doing as he murmured, You worked so hard last night. When do I not work hard? You're like a wolf, like you want to devour me. Oh. Daphne let out a coy little laugh. My hand curled into a fist. So, they've been tangled up together every single night. By the way, tricking Ma into quitting like this, isn't it kind of awful? Daphne asked. Every man for himself, or heaven and earth will strike you down. Besides, Ma's tough. He'll just find another job. And she's sentimental. She won't blame you. Ronnie chuckled, then added, Once we're married, I'm going to use her money to keep you comfortable. To the hair on my arm stood on end. This was the man who'd sworn over and over he'd love me for the rest of his life. More venomous than a snake. Thank God for the cats. Warning in my head. None of it was too late. I didn't charge over there to have it out with them. I quietly recorded a video instead, then hung around the parking garage another 10 minutes before going up. Mila, let's go. Hand in our resignations. Daphne was already waiting outside my office door, all smiles as she tugged me off toward the president's office. I didn't argue. I planned to play this little scene out to the end. When we reached the door of the president's office, Daphne smacked her forehead. Oh no, Mila, I think I forgot my resignation form. You go in first, I'll run back and look for it. Sure, I nodded and walked into Mr. Finch's office. I clearly heard Daphne let out a breath of relief. She thought the plot had worked. Mr. Finch waved me warmly into a chair and asked, I heard you want to resign. You're not here to hand me a resignation letter, are you? So Daphne had already leaked the news that I was quitting, laying the groundwork to fan the flames for her own promotion. Of course not. I shook my head and handed him a folder. Inside wasn't a resignation letter, but a marketing proposal for a new product. Mr. Finch read, nodding again and again. And at the end, he gave me a thumbs up. This is good work. Run with it. Exactly. Like this. Also, the general manager of marketing position has been sitting empty. The company discussed it and decided the role is yours. The appointment notice goes out Monday. And if this campaign blows up the way I think it will, the last executive president slot is yours. No one else. You'll get a cut of the company's profits too. I got quickly to my feet. Thank you, Mr. Finch. I won't let you or the company down. Walking out of his office, I felt both thrilled and a little shaken. If I hadn't heard the cat's voice in my head, I'd have thrown away a bright future. And by then who knew how Daphne and Ronnie would have squeezed me out, how they'd have kicked me while I was down. I didn't call her on it at the end of the day. Ronnie had been waiting in the parking garage a long while. Daphne slid into the passenger seat like she always did, propping her feet up on the dash, showing off her legs for all she was worth, not the least bit worried about her skirt riding up. I used to think the three of us had grown up together, that there could be pure friendship between a man and a woman, and I never read into it now with even a little attention. I caught Ronnie sneaking glances at Daphne's legs, his eyes greeting Ma. Daphne says, there's a new steakhouse. That's supposed to be great. I sent you the address. Let's go try it. Ronnie spoke up with a smile. You two go ahead. I'm not coming. I shook my head. Ronnie blinked, then asked, whatever it is, it can wait. Dinner with Daphne comes first, right? Right. If you don't come, what kind of best friend are you? Daphne was playing the spoiled card. Before, I might have let myself be talked into it, but now the way she put it sounded no different from emotional blackmail. Never mind. Something came up at home. I didn't bother reading their faces. I turned, walked to my car, and drove straight to the brand store that sold the handbag. Hello, could you check the serial number on this bag for me? I want to know if it won a prize. The clerk took the bag, checked it, then smiled. That's right. Congratulations, you've won $3 million. Please come with me. The whole process took less than a minute. A bank text hit my phone after taxes. $27 million had landed in my account. Still, Ronnie and Daphne would find out about this money soon enough. Next week, the store would put a sign out front and use it for promotion. So I called a real estate agent right away and bought the waterfront condo I've been eyeing for ages. Paid in full cash once everything was settled. I took the deed home and filled my parents in when they learned Ronnie and Daphne had been together all along. They were shocked, but they believed me. They told me to do whatever felt right to me. I barely finished dinner with them when Ronnie and Daphne pulled me into our group chat. Daphne sent a chirpy voice message. Mila, you ditched the steakhouse dinner with me tonight. So your punishment is you're paying the bill. Ronnie chimed right in. It's not much. Just $3,888. Just send the transfer once. I would have figured it didn't matter between friends and just sent it. But this time, I said nothing and went to get ready for bed. Pretended I never saw it. By the time I finished my shower and came back, the chat was at 99 plus. Daphne, Mila, why aren't you saying anything? Ronnie, it's been 10 minutes. The restaurant's waiting on us to pay. Daphne, while the feelings have really cooled, can't even bother to reply. The last one was from Ronnie. Mila Henson, you're being so cheap. Forget it. We'll pay for ourselves. Only after seeing that did I reply. Just got out of the shower. But no one answered. Something like this had happened before, actually. Afterward, I'd sent Daphne and Ronnie $1,000 each. That was what smoothed things over. Looking back now, I've been so stupid. This time, I had no time to cuddle them. I fed Tangerine a handful of freeze-dried treats and turned to open my laptop and work, refining the marketing proposal, prepping for the presentation at Monday's meeting. Tangerine hopped onto the desk, stared at my screen, and started up in my head. Again, your company's cat says the chairman loves cute pets most, but he keeps up that cold, aloof image, so he's too embarrassed to show it. He's always going on about how great it would be if someone put together a cute pet marketing campaign. Inspiration hit me all at once. If that was the case, then I'd give him what he wanted and work cute pet elements into this proposal. I worked through the night into morning. I was about to rest for a bit when Ronnie called. Mila, you went too far last night. You actually wouldn't pay. That really hurt. Daphne was so upset she cried. I hear she had her eye on a necklace at the mall. You should buy it for her. I almost laughed from sheer anger. I really was carrying his one guiding principle straight through to the end. Spend my money to keep Daphne. Ronnie kept going. This is all to protect what the three of us have. Taking a small loss won't kill you. Just cover the cost. Daphne stays happy and I won't be upset with you either. If I were still in the dark, sure, losing this bond would have broken my heart. Too bad I knew everything now. I pushed the feeling down. I pulled an all-nighter for work yesterday. I said I don't have the energy to go to the mall. You go take a look. Great. Ronnie thought I'd pay up like a good girl and hung up, laughing. That evening when I woke up, a few more messages were waiting. Daphne, I found an even prettier one. $28,000. Buy it for me. Okay, Ronnie. No answer. So I'll take that as a yes. Daphne will set up the installment plan for now. And you can come by another day to pay it off early. Daphne, if it's cleared within a month, there's no interest. Mila, don't forget, she already posted it to her feed to show it off. Same as always. No mention of who paid. The comments underneath were all envy. Someone asked if she'd struck it rich. What her salary was, she replied. Oh, it's nothing special. Ronnie replied. Daphne's amazing. Anyone who didn't know better would think Daphne actually had talent. Really? She'd just been bleeding me dry. And the necklace I wore myself only cost a 000 or so, while Daphne went straight for a $28,000. One big spender. She and Ronnie never spent their own money, so they had no idea how much it stung. But I didn't call it out right away. I acted like I hadn't seen a thing. I wasn't going to pay for it anyway, and I wanted to see how a girl who spent every paycheck the day she got it would settle the bill. Monday, Daphne wore that $28,000 necklace to work and made a point of asking me loudly, Mila, does it look good? It looks good, I smiled. Other coworkers caught wind and crowded around her asking, how much was this necklace? $28,000, Daphne answered, while gripping my hand. Her way of telling me not to expose her to save her face. Before I cared about our sisterhood and would have kept quiet. Now there was even less reason to say anything because I wasn't the one paying. God, 28 grand. Daphne, I never would have guessed you were this rich. I wish I had your kind of talent, Mila. Look at your little sister here. Then, look at yourself. She's way ahead of you, right? You may have brought her into the company, but her necklace alone is worth 28 grand and you've got nothing. The coworkers chattered over each other. One flattering, one stepping on me. Daphne didn't say a single word. In my defense, she just soaked it up. Pleased with herself, I only smiled ahem. Ahem. Everyone quiet down. Just then Mr. Finch walked in. I'm here to announce the appointment for general manager of marketing. Daphne's smile widened, her eyes lit up, and she couldn't hide her excitement. She thought the promotion was hers. The coworkers all turned to look at Daphne too, just as certain she was about to be promoted. After all, word that I was quitting had already spread everywhere. And with the help I'd given her, Daphne ranked second in the department. But the next second, Mr. Finch looked at me and said, effective today, Ma Henson is promoted to general manager of marketing. In that instant, Daphne's smile froze in her head, snapped around to stare at me. Nothing but shock in her eyes. The silence in the conference room was so absolute you could hear the hum of the overhead projector. Daphne's hands, still clutching my fingers in a vice-like grip to save her face, 2.5, began to tremble. The triumphant flush on her neck rapidly faded into a sickly grayish pale. The heavy gold and diamond pendant of the $28,000 necklace resting against her collarbone suddenly looked less like a luxury statement and more like a gilded noose. Emila. Daphne's voice was barely a squeak. Her wide, frantic eyes darted from Mr. Finch to me, her lips twitching as she tried to force her frozen smile back into place. 2.5. Mr. Finch. I think there's been some sort of mistake. Mila submitted her resignation last week. She's leaving the company on Monday. The co-workers who had been stepping on my name just seconds prior to flatter Daphne 2.5 instantly shuffled backward, creating a physical gap between themselves and her. Mr. Finch's face darkened. He adjusted his glasses and looked at Daphne with cold, professional disapproval. A mistake, Miss Summers? I am the president of this company. I do not make mistakes about executive-level appointments. Miss Henson did not submit a resignation. In fact, she presented a brilliant product campaign proposal to me last Friday. He turned his gaze to me, his expression softening into one of genuine respect. Mila has proven her loyalty and her unmatched market insight over the past 5 years. Effective immediately, she is your superior. I expect everyone in this room to show her the respect her new title demands. Congratulations, General Manager Henson. Zoe, a junior designer who had always been quiet, was the first to clap. Within seconds, the room erupted into applause. The very same colleagues who had just mockingly compared my $1,000 simple necklace to Daphne's $28,000 piece, 2.5, were now crowding around me, their faces twisted into masks of sugary, sycophantic praise. Mila, I always knew you had it in you. You're the backbone of this department, truly. We are so lucky to have you leading us. I smiled politely, nodding at each of them, but my eyes remained fixed on Daphne. She was standing frozen by the whiteboard, her fingers clutching the expensive necklace so tightly that the gold chain was biting into her skin. Just then, my phone buzzed in my pocket. I slipped it out under the table. It was a text message from a local luxury jeweler's automated billing system, the one Daphne had used to set up her no-interest installment plan, under my name. Notification. Your first installment of $7,000 for invoice number 8902 diamond pendant necklace is due by 5 p.m. today. Please ensure your card on file is active. I smiled, my fingers flying across the screen. I opened my banking app unlinked the corporate credit card I had temporarily registered for business expenses, and blocked the merchant. Let's see how our self-proclaimed heiress settles her bills, I thought. Mila. Daphne's voice whispered in my ear. She had managed to push through the crowd of co-workers, her face twisted into a pathetic, pleading mask. Her eyes were rimmed with red. Can we talk in your new office? Please. It's urgent. Of course, Daphne, I replied, my tone dripping with professional courtesy. As your new general manager, I always have time for my staff. The general manager's office was twice the size of my old cubicle. It had a sweeping view of the city skyline, a plush leather sofa, and a large mahogany desk. The moment the heavy glass door clicked shut, Daphne's pathetic, fragile act vanished. She slammed her designer purse onto my coffee table, her eyes flashing with a mix of terror and venomous rage. What is the meaning of this, Mila? She hissed, her voice cracking. Why? Didn't you resign? Ronnie and I booked the tickets to Hawaii. We told you to quit. You promised. I promised? I tilted my head, looking at her with mild amusement as I sat behind my new desk. Daphne, I am a grown woman with a mortgage and bills to pay. Why on earth would I quit a highly lucrative career to play third wheel on a vacation with my boyfriend and my little sister? We did it for your own good, she cried, her hands flailing. You've been so stressed lately. We wanted you to relax. And besides, you promised you'd let me have the general manager spot. You knew how much I needed this promotion. You needed the promotion? I chuckled, leaning back in my leather chair. To pay for that $28,000 necklace you just flaunted in front of the entire office. At the mention of the necklace, Daphne's face drained of what little color it had left. She instinctively reached up to clutch the pendant. Mila, about the necklace. The installment is due today. Ronnie said you agreed to cover it. I never agreed to any such thing, Daphne, I said flatly. In fact, I've already unlinked my card from the jeweler's billing profile. What? Daphne shrieked, taking a step toward my desk. You can't do that. The store already posted it to my credit profile. If the payment bounces today, they'll report it as default. My credit score will be ruined, and they might even sue me for fraud. Then I suggest you ask your wonderful, supportive boyfriend Ronnie to pay for it. I replied, my voice cool and sharp as ice. After all, he was the one who encouraged you to get it. He's the one who said losing a small loss won't kill. Surely he can cover $28,000 for his true love. Daphne's mouth opened and closed like a fish out of water. She wanted to scream, to curse me out, but she was trapped. She had spent every single paycheck the day she received it, living a life of fake luxury funded entirely by my generosity and the client accounts I had handed her. Her personal savings account probably had less than $50 in it. You've changed, Mila, she whispered, her eyes filled with a sudden, creeping fear. You're not the sister I grew up with. You're right, Daphne, I said, opening my laptop. The sister you grew up with was blind, deaf, and stupid. She's dead now. Now please leave my office. I have a major campaign to run. As Daphne stumbled out of the room, looking like a ghost, a quiet rustle came from the corner of my office. Tangerine, my orange tabby, hopped out from behind the heavy velvet curtains. He walked across the plush carpet with a slow, dignified grace, his tail held high. He jumped onto my desk, sat right next to my laptop and began licking his left paw. The white cat from the accounting department says Daphne's corporate expense reports are a complete mess. Tangerine's voice echoed directly in my mind, dry and cynical. 2.5. She's been charging personal dinners and spa days to client entertainment for the past 3 months. The corporate accountants are already sniffing around. I reached out and scratched Tangerine behind his ears. He let out a loud, rumbling purr. Is that so, Tangerine? I whispered. Then it looks like our dear Daphne has more than just a necklace bill to worry about. By 6 p.m., my phone was ringing off the hook. Ronnie's name flashed across the screen. I let it ring until it went to voicemail, then declined his next 3 calls. Finally, a barrage of frantic text messages began to flood my lock screen. Ronnie, Mila, what the hell is going on? Daphne just called me crying hysterically. She said her credit card was declined for the necklace installment. Ronnie, why did you unlink your card? We had a deal. You're supposed to protect what the 3 of us have. Ronnie, answer your phone, Mila. This is embarrassing. The jewelry store is threatening to send a courier to the office to repossess the necklace. I didn't reply. Instead, I drove to my brand new waterfront condo. The apartment was beautiful. It had floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the harbor, a state-of-the-art kitchen, and a spacious balcony where Tangerine could lounge in the sun. The $2.7 million after-tax cash from the $3 million lottery prize had landed securely in my account, 2.3, and paying for this place in full cash had left me with plenty of financial security. My parents were already there, helping me unpack some of the lighter boxes. Mila, honey, my mother said, handing me a glass of fresh lemonade. Are you sure you're okay? Ronnie's mother called me earlier. She was asking why you hadn't resigned yet, and she sounded very strange. I'm better than okay, Mom, I said, taking a sip. I'm free. Just then, a loud, aggressive pounding echoed from the front door. I walked over, looked through the peephole, and saw Ronnie. His hair was messy, his tie was crooked, and his face was flushed with a mixture of sweat and anger. I opened the door, keeping the security chain slid into place. Mila. Ronnie gasped, leaning against the doorframe. Thank God you're here. Why are you ignoring my calls? And what is this place? Whose apartment is this? It's mine, Ronnie, I said calmly. I bought it. You bought it? Ronnie blinked, his brain clearly struggling to process the information. With what money? You don't have this kind of cash. Did you take out a massive mortgage without telling me? We were supposed to buy a place together. You were supposed to put $1 million down on our house. There is no us anymore, Ronnie, I said, my voice flat. And I paid in full cash. I don't need a mortgage. Full cash. Ronnie's eyes widened to the size of saucers. How? He stopped, his gaze falling past my shoulder to the entryway table inside. Resting on the polished marble surface was the orange and brown designer handbag he had given me for my birthday, the cast-off that Daphne didn't want, with her initials Shaboy still lightly visible on the interior lining. The bag, Ronnie whispered, a sudden, terrifying realization dawning on his face. The serial number. The giveaway. You won the $3 million. I did. I smiled. Thank you for the birthday gift, Ronnie. It was truly life-changing. Mila. Ronnie slammed his hand against the door, his face turning a dark, furious red. That prize is mine. I bought that bag. I paid for it. You can't just steal my money and buy a luxury condo. It was a birthday gift, Ronnie, I replied, my voice dropping to a cold, dangerous whisper. I have the text messages of you telling me I hope you like your birthday gift. Legally, it belongs entirely to me. And as for the bag being a cast-off that Daphne didn't want, I think that counts as cosmic karma. Mila, please. Ronnie's aggressive demeanor suddenly crumbled into a pathetic, desperate plea. He reached through the gap in the door, trying to grab my hand. We've been together for 7 years. We grew up together. You can't do this to me. I love you. I've always loved you. The stuff with Daphne, it was nothing, I swear. She was just lonely. I recorded you, Ronnie, I said, pulling out my phone and playing the video I had taken in the parking garage. The speaker played their voices loud and clear in the quiet hallway. Once we're married, I'm going to use her money to keep you comfortable too. Ronnie's jaw dropped. The last defense he had was completely destroyed. Goodbye, Ronnie, I said, and slammed the heavy wooden door shut, sliding the deadbolt into place. Monday morning arrived, and the corporate atmosphere at Henson Marketing was charged with a different kind of energy. As the newly appointed General Manager of Marketing 2.5, I walked into the main conference room for the high-stakes Q4 strategy presentation. Sitting at the head of the long obsidian glass table was Chairman Vance, a notoriously cold, aloof man who rarely smiled, and was rumored to fire executives over a single grammatical error on a slide. Daphne was sitting near the bottom of the table, looking like a shadow of her former self. The $28,000 necklace was conspicuously absent from her neck. Her eyes were bloodshot, and she kept staring at her phone under the table, likely receiving notifications from her bank and the jewelry store's legal department. All right, Chairman Vance said, his voice deep and entirely humorless. Let's see the Q4 proposal for our new smart home security campaign. I want something fresh, something that connects with the emotional core of our demographic. Do not bore me with generic market statistics. Daphne quickly stood up, desperate to claw back her reputation. Chairman Vance, if I may, I have prepared a comprehensive strategy. It focuses on the fear of loss metric, utilizing high-intensity visual cues to drive home the necessity of home security. She clicked her remote, and a slide popped up on the screen. It was filled with dark, depressing colors, statistics about burglary rates, and complex flowcharts. The chairman's brow furrowed. He looked at the screen, then at his watch, his expression dripping with sheer boredom. This is identical to the campaign we ran 3 years ago, Miss Summers. It's uninspired, clinical, and quite frankly, depressing. Daphne's face turned red. She quickly sat down, clutching her tablet so tightly. Her knuckles turned white. Mila, Chairman Vance said, turning his gaze to me. What do you have? I stood up, holding my remote. Chairman Vance, instead of focusing on fear, our campaign should focus on what people actually want to protect. And the answer is simple. The things that bring us pure, uncomplicated joy. I clicked the remote. The screen lit up with a bright, warm, beautifully shot video. At the center of the frame was a fluffy, clumsy golden retriever puppy trying to climb onto a sofa, followed by a sleek, elegant black cat batting at a smart home camera's motion light. The tagline appeared on the screen. Protecting the ones who welcome you home. The regional directors around the table gasped. But my eyes were on Chairman Vance. For a fraction of a second, the cold, intimidating mask of the billionaire chairman cracked. His eyes widened, his lips twitched, and his fingers tapped against his chin in a way that looked suspiciously like he was trying to suppress a massive, childlike grin. Tangerine was right, I thought, a quiet wave of triumph washing over me. The chairman absolutely adores cute pets. We will integrate smart pet trackers, motion-activated pet feeders, and pet-friendly home security sensors into the campaign. I continued, presenting the detailed financial projections and distribution logistics I had refined over the weekend. This targets a highly loyal, high-spending demographic of pet owners. This is brilliant, one of the senior directors muttered, nodding enthusiastically. It's emotionally resonant and highly marketable. Chairman Vance cleared his throat, his face instantly returning to its cold, aloof expression, though he couldn't hide the slight sparkle in his eyes. An acceptable proposal, Miss Henson, he said, his voice flat but carrying a distinct note of approval. In fact, it's the first decent marketing concept I've seen this fiscal year. Run with it. If the launch is successful, the executive vice president slot and the profit-sharing contract is yours. Thank you, Chairman Vance, I said, bowing my head slightly. As the meeting adjourned, Daphne stood up, her face twisted into a mask of pure, bitter jealousy. She leaned over to whisper in my ear as the others walked out. Don't get too comfortable, Mila, she hissed. You think you've won? Ronnie and I are going to sue you for that lottery money. We've already contacted a lawyer. He said since Ronnie bought the bag, the prize belongs to him, and we have a claim on your new condo. I look forward to meeting your lawyer, Daphne, I smiled, packing up my laptop. But in the meantime, I suggest you check your corporate email. The audit department just sent out a company-wide notification. Daphne's phone buzzed in her hand. She looked down at the screen, and in an instant, her bitter anger was replaced by a look of sheer, paralyzing terror. The email from the corporate audit department was short, professional, and entirely lethal. To Daphne Summers, assistant project lead, subject: notice of formal investigation regarding expense discrepancies. Please be advised that a formal audit of your corporate expense accounts over the past 3 quarters has revealed a total of $34,200 in unauthorized personal charges. You are required to present receipt documentation for these charges to the HR department by 9 a.m. tomorrow. Failure to do so will result in immediate termination and the referral of this matter to law enforcement for corporate embezzlement. Emila. Daphne's voice was barely a whisper. She looked at me, her body shaking so violently she had to lean against the conference table to keep from falling. Did you do this? I didn't do anything, Daphne, I said, picking up my bag. The corporate accounting department runs audits automatically. Perhaps you shouldn't have charged your weekend spa visits and designer shoes to client entertainment. Mila, please. Daphne fell to her knees, grabbing the hem of my trousers. You have to help me. I don't have $34,000. If they report this to the police, I'll go to jail. My career, my life will be ruined. You should have thought of that before you tried to force me to resign and steal my job, Daphne, I said, stepping back so her hands slipped off my fabric. And besides, you still have that $28,000 necklace, don't you? The necklace? Daphne looked up, her eyes wide with desperation. You can return it, I suggested. Or sell it. Of course, since you've already worn it and posted it to your social media feed, you'll probably have to sell it at a massive loss. But it might be enough to keep you out of a prison jumpsuit. I walked out of the room, leaving her sobbing on the carpeted floor of the executive boardroom. When I returned to my new office, Tangerine was waiting for me on the windowsill. He looked out at the rain outside, his tail twitching in amusement. The white cat from accounting says the HR director has already prepared her termination papers. Tangerine purred in my head. And Ronnie's situation is even better. What about Ronnie, Tangerine? I asked, sitting at my desk. He's been playing the stock market with borrowed money, Tangerine muttered. Quiet kitty chuckle echoing in my mind. He owed a local private lender $50,000, and he was counting on your lottery money to pay them back. Now that you've blocked him, the lenders are coming for his car. I let out a soft laugh. It looks like the universe has a very efficient billing department, Tangerine. 1 month later, the launch of the Cute Pet campaign was a historic success. The campaign video went viral on social media, garnering over 50 million views in the first week. The smart pet tracking system sold out nationwide within 48 hours, and Henson Marketing's stock price reached an all-time high. At the end-of-month corporate banquet, Chairman Vance personally announced my promotion to executive vice president of the parent company. I stood on the stage dressed in a stunning custom-tailored emerald green gown, accepting the applause of the board of directors. I didn't need a $28,000 diamond necklace to look like a queen. The diamond of my own heart, work and resilience was more than enough. As for Daphne and Ronnie, Daphne was fired from the company for corporate theft and embezzlement. To avoid jail time, her mother had to remortgage their family home to pay back the $34,200 she had stolen. The $28,000 necklace was repossessed by the jewelers. Legal couriers right in front of her neighbors, leaving her credit score completely ruined and her reputation in tatters. Ronnie's luxury sports car, the one he had used to sneak around with Daphne, was repossessed by his private lenders. He was forced to move back into his parents' basement, working a low-paying entry-level job, his dreams of travel and comfort completely shattered. The lawsuit they tried to file against me for the $3 million lottery prize was dismissed by the court before it even reached a hearing. The judge ruled that a birthday gift is a legally binding transfer of ownership, and Ronnie's own text messages served as irrefutable proof. The banquet ended, and I drove back to my waterfront condo. The night was quiet and beautiful. I sat on my spacious balcony, looking out at the city lights reflecting off the dark, gentle waves of the harbor. Tangerine hopped onto my lap, his soft, warm weight settling against my legs. He let out a loud, rumbling purr, looking up at me with his bright green eyes. The harbor cats say the fish tonight is excellent, Tangerine's voice echoed in my mind, warm and content. I smiled, stroking his soft, orange fur. Then let's go get some fresh salmon. Tomorrow, Tangerine. Only the best for my savior. The love and friendship I had once cradled in my hands had been nothing but empty, toxic bubbles. But as I looked out at the vast, beautiful ocean ahead, I realized that letting go of them hadn't left me empty. It had simply cleared the space for me to find my true value, my true career, and the quiet, perfect peace of a life lived on my own terms.